and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle. We have been traveling the entire country and we are in the final region, that is the coastal region, here for our tournament series. Joining us for the senior category, we have Kombeni Girls High School versus Kijiwetanga Secondary School. Their motion of dissection reads, the access to financial services is more important than financial literacy in promoting economic development in Kenya. I'll read the motion of dissection again. The access to financial services is more important than financial literacy in promoting economic development in Kenya. All the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Before you is Edith Janet on behalf of Kombeni Girls High School. And I would like to acknowledge the House, for it is my great pleasure and honor to stand before you to discuss this important motion that goes by. The access to financial services is more important than financial literacy in promoting economic development in Kenya. Through the main key concepts in the motion, which are financial services, financial literacy, and economic development. First, what is financial services? This is the availability and adaptability of financial products and services to all segments of the population. And some of the financial services, to name just but a few, like the mobile banking. And financial literacy, this refers to an individual's understanding on financial concepts, knowledge, and ability to make informed decisions related to money management. What is economic development? This is the process of improving people's way of life. I'm going to outline the points to our arguments. First, we have the employment opportunities, providing support in disasters, and providing of scholarships. First, the employment opportunities. Let me tell you this. I come from Nyamira, and as I remember, back in the year 2016, most of the people around Nyamira were not employed, and they could not cater for their family's basic needs. And they decided to come up as a group of a circle and went and to access loans from Equity Bank, in which they were granted the loan. Then they started an income generating project in which they started rearing poultry. And through that, as we are speaking now, it's not that they were educated, like they were financially literate, no. But because they said, yes, we can access the loans from the financial institutions like the cooperative banks and the Equity Bank. Then in doing so, as we are talking now, the circle has really grown into a very big farm of poultry in which they are supplying chicken and eggs to most of the supermarkets available in Nyamira County. And through this, they have created employment opportunities on the people who are once not employed, but now are employed, and they are able to cater for their family basic needs, and hence it has led to economic development in Kenya. And for me, I do believe that access to financial services are more important than financial literacy. I'm not saying that financial literacy is not important, but according to me, it's just to base that we should first consider access to financial services more than financial literacy.
Hi. Death. After all, we are all knowledgeable, so why should we die? Don't you see the irony in it? Mando mano, fighting for what we know is right. Rex Masai and all the legends, all gone. No peace, no hope, no tomorrow, no restoration. They say, you don't kill a monster by being a monster. It's Kiwanza Rosemary Shadu all the way from Kijiwetanga Secondary School. Here, to confidently and energetically oppose the motion that clearly states access to financial services is more important than financial literacy in promoting the economic development in Kenya. Financial services. It is the accessibility to money to help us to satisfy our needs and wants. Examples are like microfinance. Financial literacy. This is the ability to manipulate money in order to better our lives and satisfy our needs and wants. On to my point. Financial literacy among the youth, popularly known as the Gen Zs, it's us, who found out that there are people who are corrupting the economy so that they could go on and reject the finance bill. Aren't they financial literate? Of course they are. We are knowledgeable. You are knowledgeable. All of us are knowledgeable. So the first proposer said that Nyamira, where she came from, financial literacy is not important. But how? Tell me how. What did they walk to the banks or to the so-called SACCO offices to get loans? It's because they were already financially stable, not stable. They were financially literate. That's why and how they took their legs to the bank to go and ask for the loans. Isn't that right?
Wow, what a great presentation you had for us. Can you imagine a country such as Kenya without access to financial services? I go by the name Edna Rimba from the Kombeni Girls High School. Yeah, you talked that financial literacy is important. Yeah, it is important. But if you don't have that access to financial services, how is our economy going to develop if the government itself, it depends on the financial services in promoting economic development? Why am I saying that access to financial services is more important? One, because it provides support during disasters. Take a look during 2019, where COVID-19 had invaded our country. Most Kenyan citizens died. They lost their life. This caused our economy to go down. Now imagine that every Kenyan citizen was having an NHIF, was having a health insurance. Most of them could have that access to those health services. I had a cousin who was infected with COVID-19. We were financially unstable. He did not have the NHIF. He was not having a health insurance, and we ended up burying him. That was such a great loss to us. So I believe that the access to financial services is more important than financial literacy. Second, scholarship. We all have a purpose to why we are studying. We are studying so that in future we can become people, and what we become will determine our economy. There's banks such as the Equity, such as the KCB, which provide us with scholarship. Now through those scholarship, we acquire education. We work hard in our schools so that we can achieve our dreams. After that education, I become a farmer. I decide that let me help our country grow in the agricultural center. So rather than standing here and saying that financial literacy is more important, why don't you just cross over and support us in saying that financial services are more important? If you as the Gen Z, you as a student, you depend on scholarships for your studies. I rest my case.
Okay. They say ignorance is bliss. But I say financial ignorance, it is the genesis to economic downfall. My name is Lois from Kijiwetanga Secondary School, clearly opposing this motion which says the access to financial services is more important to financial literacy in promoting the development in Kenya. Informed decision making. Financial literacy empowers individuals to make good financial decisions, which can lead to better management of personal and financial businesses. Alternately, economic stability. For example, let's use a good example of this place, Swahili Port. The guys who come up with this place, they made up their mind to use their money well, to build this place, because they know that they make a good decision for coming up with this place. They know that they are really going to invest. So, and as you can see, they really invest using that pictures there. Also, example is building a business where there's infrastructure in order to attract the customers, to boost the economy. So this means if you have got the financial literacy, you can know how to use your money rather than impulse buyings. On to my second point. Sustainable development. Without financial literacy, people may misuse financial services that will lead to debt traps and financial instability, which can negate the benefits of access financial services. For example, a literate person can take loan to buy property rather than buying household items. We can see that, for example, a taxi driver, he made up his mind to buy that car so that to use it as a means of transport. We can see that the way that he's using it as a means of transport, it will make him to invest. So that means he used well his mind, or he has got the financial literacy. So what I can tell my fellow parliamentarian, you just cross to our side and clearly opposing this motion.
As we have discussed earlier, financial services create employment opportunities, provide support in disasters, and provision of scholarships. I would like to conclude all this discussion and draw your final attention to the facts that financial services such as bank loans, SACCO services, money banking, and insurance services is more imperative than money education. Why are we saying this? You'll all agree with me that this is not a battle of which one is better between financial literacy and access to financial services. Because these two go hand in hand. Imagine of what use would be to someone who has knowledge of finance and is unable to acquire loans, access to capital, and start businesses. I believe that we should first establish financial services to enable an individual to implement the knowledge that he had acquired to promote the economic development of Kenya. Thank you.
Wow. How does one get the money if at first you are not literate financially? Think about it. And if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Financial literacy eradicate poverty. To my first point, avoid exploitation. Financial literacy protects consumers from predatory lending practices. A good example if you want to purchase goods online, then you lack financial knowledge. The dishonest traders, they will use that opportunity to exploit you. But if you are financial literate, you will easily escape those dishonest traders. Another example, let's look at the example of wholesalers and retailers. A packet of maize meal flour at retailers costs 100 shillings or less. But retailers, they used to sell it at 125 or more. Then, if you are financial literate, you just go to the wholesaler and buy so that you can save your money. Another example is these ice cream vendors. We know in actual life that an ice cream costs 10 or 30 bob. But the ice cream vendors, they can decide to sell it at 50 shillings. But if you are using your knowledge well, you'll just decide what to do and not to buy that ice cream. You will just go to the shops where they also keep the ice cream and buy for 30 bob rather than buying at 50 shillings. Another, to my second point, maximizing benefits. Educated consumers are more likely to take full advantages of financial services. For example, understanding terms of loans, benefits of savings, and risk associated with investments. A good example is if you want to buy a land for real estate. We know that we have these land intermediaries or brokers. They can decide to sell that land at a high price rather than its original buying price. So if you are financial literate, you have that ability, the knowledge, you'll just use your mind and escape that circumstances. As I wrap up my case, I would like to take us to flashback in the year 2019 to 2020 where we experienced Corona. How many people were fell prey when they failed to pay its investment borrowed money? Think about it. And making my stand very clear that financial knowledge is more important. My name is Amina Changawa from Kijiwetanga Secondary School. I address my case. Thank you.
Thank you, my fellow opponent. But I would like to tell you that you may be financially literate and at the same time unable to access financial services. For the better development of our economy, guys, let us give our people the chance to access bank loans, services, and money for capital rather than giving them knowledge. For that loan, that funding is a sure bird in the hand. As they said, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Thank you.
All is said and done, but in a nutshell, we all have to agree that financial literacy is the core to the economy. For crying out loud, how many times do we have to say this? But stop being dumb, and you have to know that you don't give people fish, you teach them how to fish. Bye.
I'll comment on the speakers' presentations. I'll start with the Kombeni girls, the proposers. We had Edith Janet as the first speaker. You understood your role and you did it quite well. You talked about the definition of key terms like access to financial services and financial literacy, and then economic development. That was quite clear. You also gave an example, a Nyamira example, and it was relevant to support your case. I'll move on to, okay, before I move on, I felt, Edith, you just need to relax. You're supposed to be here to enjoy, yeah? And that came out too with the last speaker on your side. You need to relax. This is moment to just show us what you know, because you have the content. Then we had Edna Rimba, who was the second speaker. She had good rebuttals, and she's a very good speaker. She had good mastery of content. You talked about Kenya's economic development depending on how accessible how accessible financial services are. You talked about your cousin who's infected with COVID. I felt you should have emphasized on how that relates to financial access and literacy on the other side. You should have brought out the fact that they are literate, but the issue is they can't access finances. Then we had Amina Said. She had good content. Her only undoing was confidence. You need to be more confident, be more convicted of what you're saying. That will boost your confidence. And also you didn't utilize your time well, but generally your team did a good job. Then we have Kijiwetanga Secondary School, the opposers. Rosemary, you started off with death. You were talking about Rex Masai and the current situation in Kenya. I needed you to link that clearly with your point or your side. I didn't feel that coming out. But you brought out your side very well, though you also did not clearly define the terms. You had good tone of variation. I loved you as a speaker. I hope you keep up with that. But you also did not utilize your time well. Then we have Lois Kadzo. Lois talked about ignorance is bliss. And she wanted to educate us about why we need to have financial literacy, and so that we can be able to even have access to financial services. Though the examples you were giving were not related to your arguments, it was not clear. For example, you give the example of Swahili Pot, the people who came up with this place. You wanted to tell us that they are financially literate, but that did not come out. So you need to take time and try to base your examples to your case. Then we have Amina. Amina was asked a question: how does one get access if they're not educated? And I felt this side should have used that. They should have actually explained the fact that, you can give examples from the village, how we have people who are not educated. The border riders, we can talk about the guys who sell as mayai in the streets, tell us, the fact that they have financial access, yeah? So I felt you could have used that for your case. Then, Amina talked about how if you're financially literate, you'll be able to spot dishonest traders. I felt that was a good comment, because we're in a society where you're already enjoying the fintech innovations, where we're supposed to understand how to approach the technology. So I felt that was important to point out. Also, Amina was emphasizing on the fact that when you're financially literate, you're going to maximize on the benefits of this accessibility to financial services. That was good. However, I want you to take your time and maybe read widely, so that you can also grow your language, because I felt like that was also a hindrance. You can do better, but you have confidence. I loved your confidence, and you're a very promising speaker. I wish you the very best. Thank you.